Hi class, Chef Twy here. We are on week 6. Can you believe how quickly the time went? It's crazy just how quickly that went. And this week, I've been seeing a lot of submissions already, which is fantastic. And some of you guys are taking on the challenge of the tuile cookies, which is awesome. And so do know that this week it is optional, and being that's optional, you can do it anytime, right? So you're not required to do it, but what I do encourage is to challenge yourself to make sure that you do take the time to practice making tuile cookies, because they are a fantastic cookie to just eat. They're really great with almonds. However, you can practice this because it will prepare you really well for your PA 222 or PA 221 class, and that's going to be contemporary plated dessert. And I always encourage that, in order to get elevation to your plate, you can do a crunch factor like crumbled cookies, or like granola, or you can do like candied nuts of some sort for your crunch component, but those don't give you elevation. They don't give height. And when you get into contemporary plated dessert, it's all about creativity, design, flavor profile. It's a little bit of everything. You're really trying to sell the product visually. And with that being said, giving elevation to your plate, tuile cookies are the perfect component for your plating. And so definitely take some time to do it. I have like a little sheet tray right here that's just lined with parchment paper, and I want to kind of show you how creative you can get. And I'm going to do something a little bit different today. It's not just going to be cookies, it's going to be a built type of sculpture of some sort. And so I did cut out just kind of like off of just like a cardboard thing that I had. You can use cereal box, you can use your cake boxes, and you just cut out the shape from like your design. You can do butterflies, you can be doing even like just a straight circle to get like the most consistent shape. I did kind of like a whimsical version of like a flower. The petals aren't really even, partly because I don't want it to be even, because I'm trying to do cherry blossom. I cut it out and I did a little flapper here, that way when I actually spread it, I have a little handle, and that handle I can spread it while I'm holding the handle. I can spread the tuile on and keep it in place. I kind of created a little mini tab right there to hold it down. I'm excited to show you guys, but I'm also excited to show you the final piece as well. So stand by and we're gonna get this started. Alright, so after you let your tuile batter rest, it really helps the butter basically solidify a little bit in the fridge, so that you end up with more like a pasty texture, so that you can spread it really thin and very nice. I put mine in a piping bag because, considering how small my stencil is, I want to be very minimal with the amount I put, or you can just use a small spatula, scoop out the batter and spread it, okay? And so I just have it in a piping bag just because it's easier for me to do it, but I'll also need the piping bag in a little bit to kind of do a different, to kind of execute my design. And so you'll get the opportunity to see how that all comes together. Okay, so here I have my little stencil. You can see here that I have my batter, my tuile batter, and I just need a little because I want to spread it as thin as possible, but also keep it very even. And this tab's gonna help me lift it, and you kind of see how the shape's already showing up here. So I'm not going to do too many at once, partly because it solidifies very quickly and I need to shape these very quick before the shape just kind of hardens up. And so you can always put it back in the oven to soften it up again, and that way you can continue to reshape your batter. And so as your stencil gets dirty, just make sure you're cleaning it off and then starting over again. Alright, so I have these little cherry blossom that I'm going to throw in the oven. It's going to bake quite quickly considering how small they are. So as the other ones are baking, I do want to show you guys another part of what I'm going to do for my sculpture, my little cherry blossom sculpture. I have my tuile batter that's actually not colored. And so I want to do kind of two tones because I kind of feel like it's a little bit going to be too monotone. So I'm just going to do little drops. And so these drops are just going to spread out into be just like little circles. And so you can pipe them. And I'm not going to do too many at a time because I won't be able to shape them all at once unless I keep it continuously hot. So okay. And so while those will be spreading, I kind of want to show you guys that these are going to basically melt and become little kind of like little droplets, right? But then to have a maintained shape, you do want it to be thin. You spread it very thin so that it doesn't spread. Because what happens is when there's a little bit of thickness to it, it's going to spread and it's going to flatten out, right? But then if you're already flattening out, it's just going to maintain its shape. And so, you know, I do want to kind of do a little bit of abstract shapes to create my what is the cherry blossom design. And so I just need to spread it very thin, kind of just create little fanning hearts. And so you see how thin that is, and that's going to bake off and create these really beautiful little petals. But I feel like I might need more little cherry blossoms. I'm doing white and pink cherry blossoms so that I can kind of offset the color a little bit. Because I think sometimes when you have just one color, it just looks very monotone. You need a little bit contrast. Alright, so we're going to see how this all turns out. Okay, so this took no longer than 5 minutes in the oven because of how thin it is. You can see that there's a little bit of a light coloration on the exterior. And so what I want to do is let it cool off a little bit off of the pan. But I'm going to keep the pan here. It's going to be hot, so you have to be very careful because you're working around something that's very hot that just came out of the oven. But I'm taking off the pan to the side here so they can start to harden up a little bit. But when it starts to harden too much, I'm going to put it back on the hot pan so it can soften up a bit for me. And so it's already getting super crispy by just taking it off just for a little second. So I'm going to put it back on, let that heat soften it back up. Perfect. Gives it a little flexibility. You can kind of see how those petal shapes work. And I like to usually try to bend this here. That one didn't work. Here, this one's more flexible for sure. So I like to kind of fold it up, give it a little bit more three-dimensional. And so it doesn't look like a cherry blossom just yet, but it will. It will get there. It's a very abstract version of my cherry blossoms. You can see how that one turned out right there. I'm sure you could see. Just folding them and giving them a little bit of three-dimensional. So just kind of folding it into kind of like a cup. Okay, so these got a little color. It's very hot, just came out of the oven, so gotta let it cool a little bit before I start shaping it. Okay. Just little petal things, just kind of gives a little abstract textures, kind of shape it a little bit so it kind of looks a little leafy. And you'll see how this all will come together in a little bit. But it solidifies almost immediately when I make these little shapes. Whoop. You see, sometimes it's gonna tear. But you know what? My design that I'm doing is very abstract, so this is still gonna work for my sculpture. So you see these little tiny little ones that I made here? I'm gonna make them into little petals of flower. I'm not sure you can see it, but trying here. So I'm gonna shape these, and you'll see how the overall results will look. So as I just fold and fold, it looks like little mini petals. Alright, so just to give you guys an idea of what I'm doing, you can see the more distinguished cherry blossoms right here because they're bigger. You can see these little tiny little buds that, you know, once you put them together, they just looks like a bunch of buds, right? And so you can see the folds in some of them where it actually looks very much like little flower buds. Let me go ahead and show you. Let's see, we could zoom up on that one. There. It's like little 2 flower buds right there, right? And so I'm gonna make this into a sculpture, and I do want to give you guys fair warning that I did start on this a few days ago for sure. Okay, so I'm excited to show this to you guys because I made modeling chocolate, and the modeling chocolate, I made it into the tree branch for my bonsai cherry blossom, and I did start on it because this was going to take a long time for me to do all in one sitting. So I did want to at least show you guys what I started on. You can see here. So I had my little container. I had this little container right here, and then I put foil inside, and then I coated it with chocolate to create my little bonsai vase. And after the bonsai vase was done, I sprayed it down with gold luster dust. And the modeling chocolate, I created, I forgot what recipe I used, but it's basically just unsweetened chocolate with corn syrup, and then it becomes this really pliable type of texture. Let me go ahead and show you. Actually, let's see. So I made modeling chocolate, and it becomes like and then so it basically becomes very easily moldable. It has elasticity to it. It's gonna set, and once it sets, it hardens up very nicely. And so when it hardens up like this, because this is like 2 days old already, it's gonna harden up so it has structure like this. And then if you want to reuse again, you just throw it in the microwave for like literally like 5 to 10 seconds. And so you can see how I kind of started with the little tuile cookies. These are tuile cookies, just kind of executed the same way that I just showed you guys. And so kind of to show you the idea of what my process was, is that I had a lot of these made, and then you can see that I added them kind of throughout the bonsai tree here. And then these little nubs right here, these little tiny nubs are just like how I made these little white ones right here. And so I am gonna put the white ones on here to kind of give it a little bit offset contrast, and just to kind of see if I can add a little bit more weight to it without breaking it. And so I'll keep recording, and I'll do this on fast mode so you guys can just see, because it's going to take me forever to do. Alright, so here's the finished bonsai. I hope you guys love it. It's my little cherry blossom bonsai that I made out of tuile. And you know, this is just, I know it's extremely challenging. I mean, modeling chocolate down to chocolate, using pistachios as like the little rocks. You know, it's definitely a stretch of imagination, and I want to encourage you guys to challenge yourself, right? Not to get to this point yet, but I want you to know that it's possible, that you can get to this point. You will get creative with modeling chocolate. You will get creative with just chocolate in general, but don't limit yourself, right? And so I did want to show you the chocolate side of things because we have future courses for that. But I did want to show you how much you can apply different techniques of learning even just something as simple as tuile cookies and making it into something like this, right? And so this was just kind of like my present and my gift to you guys, as just kind of like a bonsai giveaway and a flower that I want to present to you guys, and just wishing you guys the best into your future courses, all your endeavors, and continue to be creative, never give up, and just know that you can definitely make it through. As long as you are determined and willing to try. And like I said from last week, you don't have to be perfect at everything, but you can be the best version of yourself for yourself. And take that with you, and I wish you all nothing but the best. Take care.